Here in a small backyard garage in Munich stands his biggest treasure, an MG TC. And again, just like every year, Lebrecht wants to take his MG on a trip to the Alps. But without the TÜV stamp certifying that his car is technically fit, his trip could come to an abrupt end.
The brake system in the back is not working right, and the transmission is losing oil. Considerable cleaning and sealing is written on this, because I really need the TÜV stamp, and I want to take off next week into the mountains and go on to Italy. And I have to make sure I can pass the TÜV test. That means I have to get it fixed now and hope that it will be ready. It really is not that simple, because the brake system is a life and death issue for a car, and I have to redo that and clean it. And the oil loss from the engine, I can get that done without any problems, but it really is necessary that I get the TÜV stamp, because next week I want to set out. And beforehand, I really want to drive around in the area and to test it to make sure everything is okay.
Lebrecht drives over to a friend who has an MG garage. He wants to repair the brake with him. Lebrecht enjoys every meter of the drive in his 820-kilogram TC.
It is easy to define why this car is fun to drive. First off, you have the wind at your face as you drive. And then the way that this car drives, no electronic parts, no heating, you are really in the nature. And you feel like you are battling the elements, the natural elements, and also the technical ones. But when I am in a modern car, I feel bored.
Lebrecht is at his destination, the shop of his friend, Charlie Miller. Charlie is an Englishman and has been a specialist for years, specializing in old MG sports cars. With his support, Lebrecht wants to set the brakes of the TC so that he can pass the TÜV test without any problems. Charlie's shop has a hydraulic platform which makes working on the brakes much easier.
Hi, Charlie. How are you?
Hi, Lebrecht.
I am still having trouble with the brake, and I would like to take the car on vacation, but you already know that. Here, the one at the rear, the right one. We already looked at the brake cylinders, and they are okay. Maybe the mechanical system. There is something still wrong there. I already thought that it was a leak, but it isn't.
Then let's take a look and see if we can adjust the brake cylinders or whether we need to give you new ones.
Can we jack it up a bit?
To get to the drum brakes, they first have to loosen the wing bolts by hitting them.
I am trying to loosen these nuts, to loosen them by hitting them, because they tighten counterclockwise.
A hammer is used to turn the wing bolts to the right, and then the MG is raised using the hydraulic platform. It would be impossible for Lebrecht to set the brakes all by himself, because you have to simultaneously step on the brake pedal and the wheels have to turn at the same time.
Charlie knows exactly what it could be, and most of all, he has the right tools for the job.
The MGTC has a hydraulic single-circuit brake unit which works on all 4 drum brakes.
Now, I am loosening the 6 screws of the brake drum mounting. And then, I can pull the brake drum off.
Charlie would rather do it himself. Lebrecht, let me do that. It only takes Charlie a quick look to see what condition the drum brake is in. They are very close to one another, which fits their age. They also don't have strong lines of abrasion. I think that they were rotated not too long ago. They will do. You can always, from time to time, they get age-related cracks. But that means that this one does not have any cracks because the sound is so high in tone. If it were dull, it would mean that it has a crack. You already have exchanged out the cylinders, right? And now we have to set the distance, so now put everything back together and back to the initial setting again. It is the right rear wheel brake which was not strong enough during the TÜV test. For that reason, Charlie and Lebrecht want to try to adjust it so that the braking force is the same as on the left side. It is not just this car. On every car you have to set the brake drum. The modern cars that have brake drums have an automatic eccentric screw. It means that it sets it automatically on the brake drum. But you always have to set it to the basic function. That was not the case here. Lebrecht is now behind the wheel again, so he can put his foot onto the brake. Charlie is turning the wheel to check the braking ability.
I will press on it a bit.
Yes, push it on lightly. So now it brakes on the left side easily. And here it moves easily like on the other side. So we will make some adjustments.
I'm going down again.
You can go down again. Experienced mechanics like Charlie and Lebrecht are able to adjust drum brakes at least in the basic setting by feeling them. Just feeling it by hand, you could tell it brake more on the left side than on the right side. Now we'll try to set the brake a bit lighter again on this side, and then we will see if the result is what we want. The adjustment screws for the eccentric screw are on the rear of the brakes. That means it doesn't have to be removed every time that the disc is changed. That is enough just to get an approximate adjustment, because when the brake path from the cylinder is okay, and it's just a question of the basic approximate setting, then that is enough. Twice Charlie changes the setting at the brake eccentric screw because he hopes that the brakes will be the same again. It feels good. A little bit tighter, a bit tighter, tighter still so it can't turn.
It is tight.
Charlie has to adjust it again now. A little bit lighter, a little bit, yes, it's moving a bit. It's also turning now really hard. A bit looser, a bit tighter. Were you really pressing on it hard just now? Tight. And tight.
Great. So it worked.
Okay then, now let's take it to the TUV for the test. And if there's anything wrong, then just give me a call. Lebrecht has already passed the most important part for the TUV test.
Service. Ciao.
Back in his garage now, Lebrecht wants to check the small oil loss on his engine, the next point on his list of problems. Because you could not seal engines as perfectly on the older cars as you can today, the TUV always has problems with these classic cars.
Here on the tank cap, the filling port appears to not be secure. It is coming out a bit. And here on the breather line, I have to insert a stopper or cork with a hose on it. That is not a problem. And a bit down below here on the oil dipstick, there is something that looks wrong down there. I will clean that and can't really do much there. Maybe I can put a washer on it, but it is not necessary. I now intend to exchange the cap from the oil fill area, the original cap. Maybe that has to be worked on a bit, and we'll have to use a trick from the bathtub. The cap will fit on well, and we'll close it well. It fits really well too. I will seal the breather line with a kind of plug. There is a kind of compensation hole in it. That is not a problem. And you also don't lose it easily. That fixes that. And now the engine has to be cleaned. And I think then that the damage, as far as can be done, is fixed.
With his brake cleaning spray, Lebrecht cleans the engine until his prize looks like new again. Thanks to its simple technology, the MG-TC is easy to maintain and keep up. That keeps the costs within limits, even if you do have to consult a T-type expert sometimes. Lebrecht is now driving to the technical testing center. He wants to get the required TUV stamp. This MG fan hopes that he can overcome all the car's prior technical problems. Because without the TUV stamp, he can't go on vacation. And time is getting short because he's planned his trip for this week.
Yes, I am anxious. I hope that it is okay, so that I can drive it on vacation.
In the test center garage, the tester will direct Lebrecht around because the drive to the work pit is millimeter work. The wheelbase of the MG is almost as narrow as the pit unit track.
Hi, I have an appointment.
Yeah, let's take a look. Rear brake and loss of oil. Exactly. Let's take a look. If you'll please get out. It is a requirement that the tester tests every car himself and checks the brakes. Some nervous minutes pass now for Lebrecht. Will the brakes work? After he adjusted them with his expert Charlie. And will they work in such a way that they both work evenly on the test bank? Okay, the brake as it is okay.
Great, yes.
He made it. The brakes passed the test. Now the tester wants to see the car from underneath to check how leak-proof the engine really is. Okay, now let's check for any oil loss. The tester checks for signs of oil carefully. In essence, it's like this. When the oil is dripping, particularly for the older cars, then that is too much. These small areas here, okay for an old car. They have different seals. It is sealed. A little bit of beading going on, but that is normal for an old car. At the end, the tester wants to see the car from below. In the first test, most oil leaked out of the oil-filled ports and at the breather line, but Lebrecht sealed the engine well. Good. Here up above, everything is very dry, great, clean. We won't have any problems. It is, of course, nice to see something like this. It's really the technology from the very first years to see an engine like this. Everything is open, free, accessible, not like the modern cars when you open the engine and you see plastic everywhere. The tester fills out the technical check report for the MG on the computer. Lebrecht has passed the tough test at the second attempt. Good, great. Then we will see each other again the next time in 2 years. Thanks.
Thanks.
Your vehicle registration card, and here is the test report. Now we will put on a sticker, and we're done. Great. Thank you. The tester peels off the old sticker and puts on a new one. The goal is reached, and his vacation is saved. But before Lebrecht drives over the Alps to Italy, he takes a long drive in the MGTC. He doesn't want to end up stranded on the Brenner with a technical problem.
I am doing this test drive right now because TÜV had some complaints that has been fixed completely. Now during the test, we found out that the carburetors are not synchronized like they should be. They act up from time to time, and the result of that, potentially, when the engine is warm, is that the car will have a hard time starting, and it also might cause fuel consumption to go up. For me, that would mean that I will have to invest 15 to 30 minutes of work to take apart the carburetors and the A-flange in order to find out if the seals have become hard. And because of that, air gets in from the side into the carburetor. I can do that tonight and it won't take much time. That is not a big deal. And if I didn't do that, the noise from the carburetor would annoy me. And maybe also the engine doesn't start well when it's warm.
Just a small repair, then Lebrecht can go on vacation. Just like everyone who can fix things, Lebrecht has a new friend for life in this robust roadster. Just like those before him, like Clark Gable and the Formula One world champion, Phil Hill.